Have you here. It is Friday, and it is 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, right? What I want to do first, though, before I get going here, I want to check to make sure that the audio is working. I transitioned to a new mic here. First, though, before I get going, nice. I want to check to make sure that the audio. All right, it's working. I spent the last 3 hours, for some reason, on my Blackmagic box. You don't need to know all the technical things. And I hooked up my wireless mic. I wasn't getting things to work, so I had to call support on one of the apparatus. I got it working there, but then I began to get this echo. So, of course, searching the internet, trying to find a solution, I end up hacking the system. And so now at least we don't have the echo. And I wanted to make sure everything was working. I spent probably about the last 3 or 4 hours on the phone and support here in the studio, and that completely jacked up my plans for all the other stuff I had planned for today. But I want to make sure it gets working because I want to be able to take you through the process of training Charlie, the bed bug detection dog. This is his first day on where I'm going to start introducing the odor. Up to this point, the dog just got here about a week ago. And so what we want to do is make sure the dog gets acclimated to the new surroundings, the new temperature. Right, that is a big issue because coming from Northern Ireland, as we know that Charlie did, the temperature and environment is a lot different. We have kids. I know Chris has 2 children and people visiting all the time, but I have young children, and so getting the dog and making sure, right? We want to make sure that the dog is in fact social, even though he was tested. You never know what's going to happen when a dog comes into a new environment, so we want to make sure and get him around the kids. I get my son out there playing with him, and we also began working on the sit just a little bit and working on the leash. Remember, the last 2 dogs we had here, they had issues with the leash. Charlie does not appear to have that issue, which is good, so we can get started right away. Hey, April. Yes, April had a preview of the bed bugs last night. The bed bugs I was showing off at another broadcast that I was doing last night. Actually, I was visiting April in her live broadcast and showed her what the bed bugs look like. So I'm going to take you to another place here inside the training area that I have here inside my garage. And so I'm going to go from the studio to the garage and show you what we have going on. So in introduction of the odor, I'm going to go over there and kind of tell you what we're going to do to have this happen. There are about 4 or 5, probably, there might be more, different ways to introduce an odor to a detection dog and get them used to it. In the case of a narcotics dog, we often start with marijuana. And because marijuana essentially is fairly safe for a dog to bite down on and actually even get in his mouth, it won't hurt him. It just makes him really hungry for Pop-Tarts. But it doesn't hurt him. So you can make a toy that has marijuana inside of it. So we take terry cloth towels, roll them up, put rubber bands on them inside, like a burrito is the marijuana, and we play fetch and we introduce the odor that way. Well, of course, with bed bugs, you can't do that. There's no way of keeping the bugs alive by putting them inside of a terry cloth towel, and then, of course, they might escape. And, of course, we don't want that. And so because we use these vials, plastic or glass, we don't want to use those inside of a burrito type of situation because the dog will bite down and will break them. And again, the bugs will get loose. So we have to introduce the odor much like we do a bomb dog, and that's put the toy with the odor that we're trying to train, which I'll show you in just a minute. And then there's going to be some other things. Right now, we're going to be using cinder blocks to house the combination of the toy and the bed bug odor. And I'm going to take you through the process. So this is going to be his first introduction. You're going to see a lot of stuff. The dog is probably not going to know much, right? And so be ready for that. Remember, these dogs come to us, they have no idea. He has no idea that he's going to be a detection dog. All he knows is he got put in a plane, spent 14 hours in the plane flying over here to the United States, and then has this crazy guy and his kids that he's now introduced to. He falls in the pool on his first day here. He has a big backyard that he runs around and is free. He's hearing possums in the bushes and squirrels barking and chasing them. And so he's got a whole new environment, a whole new world that he's being introduced to and has no clue what it is we're about to do. All right. So you're seeing it from the very basics. And so if you've ever wanted to know how a bed bug detection dog is trained or in the bed bug world and wondering how your dog got started, it's probably similar, but there can be some differences based on the different trainer and whatever their philosophies are in that time. I tend to take my time a little bit in the beginning, and then things begin to pick up really fast. And so that's why I like to do it this way. I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and so the system that I use seems to work fairly well. and I've had good success, and so we just tend to repeat what it is we're doing. Let's see. Michelle says, Baja Pop-Tarts. Yeah, see, I knew somebody would get that joke. Thank you for laughing. Why would you need a dog for bed bug detection? They help, April, they help pest control operators or someone who's interested to know whether there's actually a bed bug infestation if they can't see the bug. So in a complete infestation, of course, they're easy to see. You've got fecal contamination, you've got exoskeletons that are left behind, and then every so often you see these little critters running off. But in many cases, like in a hotel, because the bedding gets changed very often and things get moved around and cleaned and that kind of stuff, you'll often only have 1 or 2 bugs that are kind of out and about, and they're really hard to see. If they're in the early stages, like a baby or really young, you can hardly see them. They're actually fairly small, and so a dog will help you find those. They're very thin and they hide in cracks and crevices. So in between, like on a nightstand, for instance, where the 2 pieces of wood come together, at the corner, perhaps the bugs actually can fit in there where you can't even see any space. The bugs actually get secreted inside there, and of course, when you look around, you can't see them. But a dog, with his ability to smell, he'll find them. He'll then tell us where to begin to maybe pull something apart or open something up, and then we find them. Or take we've had dogs find bugs that are in electrical outlets, behind pictures, in clock radios. I've had that twice, where the bed bugs were inside of a clock radio, and they had been spraying and had been trying to solve this problem, but just can't seem to solve it. Can't get rid of the bugs, but they're in the. What happens is people take out some of the plastics if it's a heat treatment because they don't want it to melt, and then they bring the plastics back in. Little did they know that the bed bugs were inside that clock radio that they kept taking out. They'd heat treatment and bring the clock radio back in, and then bring in the bugs back into the environment. So the dogs help us find those bugs that we can't find just on a visual search and that kind of stuff. So that's a really good question. Thank you. Ollie is working tomorrow. Very nice. Ollie is is one of the last dogs. So Chris at Find It Canine Detection has Ollie. And that was the last batch of dogs you saw us train here at the Falco Canine Academy. So it would be more likely for a corporation to hire someone to bring a dog in for this task. Yes, a pest control operator, a hotel. I've gotten phone calls from homeowners who think that they might have brought them back from a hotel that they stayed at. We've had dorms, we've had trains, we've had planes, we've had walk-in theaters that we've searched 25 walk-in theaters at a place that I probably shouldn't tell you where that's at. And where else? Some other places. I'm sure somebody else that's a bed bug dog handler can tell you right here. But yes, all over the place. All right. So let me go ahead and switch cameras here. I'm going to go over to the other place. When I'm at the other place, I'm not going to be able to see comments. So just letting you know. So let me come over and go to the other place over there. Oops. Sorry, wrong button. Helps when I hit the right button. All right. So over here is where we have our cinder blocks. So in each one of the cinder blocks, we have the makeup of everything that creates the training aid, except for the bugs. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. So if I were to go over here, I have in this this cinder block a plastic bag, and a vial. So you can see here, I'll hold this up here. It may go out of focus, I'm sorry. But you have a glass vial, which we often put the bed bugs in. This one doesn't have any bed bugs, and we have a plastic bag. So that's something like that is in every cinder block, because what we want the dog to do is we want the dogs to find that particular one that has this label on the front. This one actually has the vial with the bed bugs in it, right? So by having everything other than live bed bugs in all of the containers, what we're trying to do is get the dog to focus on the one difference between all these cinder blocks, and that is going to be the live bed bugs. All right, so in one of these, we have dead bed bugs too. I'll try to find it and show it to you later, but we also have dead bed bugs. We have different types of vials. We have plastic vials, glass vials, and all the different kinds of vials that we use, but only the live bed bugs are in this particular cinder block. Also in this cinder block is the dog's tennis ball, all right? So because this dog has no idea that he's about to become a bed bug detection dog, we have to use something that will attract his attention to the correct cinder block. All right. So what we're using as a lure is his favorite toy. And that is right now the tennis ball. We're going to find probably other toys to reward him with, but it may stay the tennis ball. That's a whole other story that we'll talk about in another video. But in this case, he really loves the tennis ball. He is selected based on his desire to search for and hunt for that toy. That's one of the things we really want. We want a dog that is so crazy about a toy that he'll do anything to find it. He'll crash through boxes and and jump over, file cabinets and knock things over just to get that tennis ball. He's so crazy for the tennis ball that's all he can focus on. Not only will he go after the tennis ball, but he'll search for it with his nose, right? So we want a dog that also hunts very strongly for that toy, because you can have dogs that will chase the ball all day, but if it goes into high grass and they lose sight of it, they won't search for it. And we have dogs that are like that. That's not the dog we want. We want a dog that will search through that high grass and find the bugs. So just to revisit what we got going on here, in every one of these blocks, we have empty containers with bugs in them. Oh, here we go. This is a container that has bugs in it. If I get close, I'm afraid it's going to go out of focus and then not readjust. But inside here, you can't see them, but there's dead bed bugs in there. So in this block here, I'm not sure I got it out that way. So we have empty vials and then we have dead bed bugs in some of these vials. We have plastic bags in all of these. In this one, we have vials, plastic bag, and live bed bugs. So this is the only one with live bed bugs, and that's the one with this tennis ball in it. Now over here, I have another tennis ball. This is the tennis ball that I'm going to reward him with, because he can't stick his head in there and get that tennis ball. It's only a lure. So we have to reward him with an external tennis ball. Now, if we have a dog that has a problem with that and maybe doesn't want to leave because they want that tennis ball, what I'll do eventually is just reach down and pull that tennis ball out and give it to him. But if I can reward from a secondary position, a secondary toy, then that will save me the hassle of having to reach down and pull out that toy. And it tends to go a little bit faster if I can reward him with a secondary toy as opposed to what would be the primary toy. All right. So if you're secondary and primary, this toy is the primary. This toy is the secondary. So if I can reward with a secondary, I don't have to pull out the primary to give it to him. You see that there's an extra step there that I don't necessarily want to have to take if I don't have to. But if I do, I will. And it really doesn't change anything, only possibly increases the amount of time it takes to train the dog. Right? Because then you have to switch things around and eventually get the dog used to taking a secondary toy. All right, so we're going to bring out Charlie. One trick that we use as a trainer is that when we put the dog in the crate, we leave the leash on. That way, when he comes out, we just grab the leash and we don't have to worry about trying to put it on and all that kind of stuff, especially when you're doing demonstrations. So if you are a trainer and want a little quick tip, you want to have the leash already on. Now, if you have a dog that eats the leash, then you can't do that. You have to take the leash off and put the leash on after you get the dog out. So here's Charlie. So Charlie is a yellow lab, obviously. He's actually a fairly small dog, which is really cool. That's kind of what they wanted. They wanted a small dog. They were actually hoping for like a Springer Spaniel type or something like that. That would be nice and small. But for a Labrador Retriever, he's actually tiny compared to some of the American yellow labs that we have. Hopefully the camera angle is good enough so you can see Charlie, but he's a really cute dog, really healthy, very friendly, very sociable. He loves grabbing your hand with his mouth, but he's not biting or anything like that. He just likes to open his mouth. We'll probably fix that too. It's not really a big deal, but it's best if a dog doesn't try to reach out and shake your hand with his mouth. That's basically what he's trying to do. He's not biting down or anything. He just likes to open his mouth and taste your hand and that kind of stuff. All right, so I'm going to show him that I have this toy here and bounce it around so you can see how excited he gets. Look at this focus on him. You can see this is a dog that wants nothing more than this tennis ball. You can lure him around, and this is kind of what they do behind the camera. If you've ever seen a dog on television, it really is a camera here, like in between the two of you, and then you move the toy around if you want the dog's focus on something else. All right, so that's kind of how they do TV dogs. It's not that big of a trick. All right, so I'm going to act like I throw the toy. I put the toy under my armpit. The dog looks confused, like where to go. And now what I want to do is introduce him to this area over here. And if he finds that toy, nice. Wow, that looks good. He's already trained. Nice. So he shows interest. I drop the ball. Bam. He sticks his nose in there. What's really important that I want to see, I want him to see that he sticks his nose in there. That's really important because I want to make sure when the dog sticks his nose in there, he takes a big whiff. And what he's doing, he's smelling both the tennis ball, right? The tennis ball that he wants so badly, along with the odor of the live bed bugs. Now, again, his brain, his olfactory system, has no idea about what that extra odor is. Right now, all it is, it's the first time he smelt the odor of the live bed bugs along with the tennis ball. It's not making any connection whatsoever at this moment. But through repetition, it will become one of the odors that he recognizes that's associated with his toy. As you'll see as we go on and do this in days going on from here, is that I'll reduce the size of the tennis ball to where the point now the only thing in there is the live bed bugs. And you'll see all that'll work. if you're kind of wondering what direction we're going. So the other thing I have noticed with Charlie that I didn't have with the other dogs is that he likes to bite down on the tennis ball when you're trying to get it from him. And so one of the things you can do is actually get very, hard and correct the dog and that kind of stuff. What I'm doing right now is I'm holding the dog very close so he can't go anywhere. So hopefully you can see this. And I'm going to make sure that he can't slip out of the collar. So I tighten down on it just a little bit. I want to make sure and just grab the ball and try to limit his direction where he can go. So you can see how he's biting down and he's holding on to it. That actually isn't horrible. You like a dog that has that strong desire. And I'm just going to hold on to the ball and the collar and make sure that it's not fun. Wow, that's the fastest he's let go yet. So I'm making sure that it's not fun, and I'm making sure that I don't lose the tennis ball. If I lose the tennis ball and he pulls it out of my hand, then he's actually won that round, and it'll make him bite down harder and try harder to get it from me. So as you can see, he's not had that happen. So he's learning that if he lets go, he'll start playing this game all over again, which in the past has just been fetch. Now he's going to learn how to let go so he can begin searching again. All right, do the same thing under the armpit. So we're going to do this 3 times because that's kind of what we do here. Nice. Nice. So you see how on that block there, the one with this tennis ball, he stuck his nose in there, kept it in there, and he's breathing with his nose and his mouth. Remember that a dog smells both through his nose and through his mouth. So what I want him to do is to make sure that when he's breathing in, I'm certain that he's getting both the odor of the tennis ball along with the bed bugs, the live bed bugs. And of course, he's getting the plastic bag and the vials and all that kind of stuff. But what do we have going on in the other ones? We have all those things in the other ones too. So even though he's smelling them, he's discounting them in his head, right? He's discounting plastic bags, plastic vial, dead bed bugs, plastic bags, dead bed bugs, plastic vials, plastic bags, and then, tennis ball, I smell those other things, and live bed bugs, right? So that's the only thing that's different in this one. It's this tennis ball and those live bed bugs. Remember, later on, we begin to take those tennis balls out. Then we begin putting tennis balls in all the other containers, which is really fun. just so you know, later on, that's kind of one of the things that we end up doing. All right, so remember again, I make sure that the collar is nice and high. I make sure and hold on to it nice and tight. I grab the tennis ball, and now we do nothing until he lets go. We do nothing until he lets go. He gets no fun. He gets no satisfaction. Nice. Very good. Very good. We give him lots of praise for letting go. We hide the tennis ball, and we have him search for it again. Nice. Wow, that looked really good. This is going to go fairly well, I hope. Nice. Very good. What a good boy. What a good boy. Nice. What a good boy. What a good boy. Very nice. Very good. All right, that was a really good round. So we're going to end on that one. And we'll talk about that back over at the other place so I can see your comments. All right, here we go. Choke up on the collar. Make sure you can't move. Get a hold of the tennis ball. Do nothing. Nice. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Very nice. Now the trick will be to get him back into the crate because he doesn't like this crate. Make sure the tennis ball doesn't fall out because that could be bad. All right, back into the crate. Good boy. Very nice. Close the door. All right, we're going to go back over to the whiteboard. All right. It is hot. It's like 90 degrees over here. All right, let me get back over to my thing here. Yes, Michelle, he's doing great. Yeah, he picked up on that fairly well. I'm not sure. I don't think he had much. I mean, when we select the dogs, one of the things that we want Chris to do over in Northern Ireland is we want him to put the dog through some tests. We want the dog to show us that when you hide the tennis ball in a room like this, like this garage, that he'll go in and he'll search, he'll go over stuff, he'll, things get knocked over, loud noises happen, that kind of stuff. But he doesn't give up. He'll continue to search with his nose, make the find, and give it here. He's not required to stop or alert or anything like that. But he learns the game of searching at least before he gets down there. So that's probably why he did so well in this game, because he's never, I'm sure, done this. But he's doing well because we've done a really good job of selecting the dog, right? That's really the important part. It seems like we just get a dog, bring it here, and start searching. There's a lot. You have no idea. It takes weeks and weeks to find the right dog. We go through dogs like crazy. I get pictures and emails of videos of dogs, and we keep turning them down. or they get to the medical part and then they have loose hips or loose shoulders. I think I showed you the video, the x-rays of his of Charlie a few weeks ago, so you saw those, that they were really sound. But there's a number of things that can happen that can discount the ability of a dog to where we decide not to take him. And so we go through dog after dog after dog. So it gets very difficult. So when we finally find a dog, we are able to make sure that training goes by quicker because we selected the right dog, right? That's really part of it. Thank you, April. This is fascinating. I had no idea that this, where did I this? I had no idea that this was a thing. Yeah, I've been doing it for about 6 or 7 years, I think. So it's been a thing for a while. We have mold detection dogs that we've trained too. We have peanut detection dogs for people that have strong allergic reactions to peanuts. It's just, if it has an odor, you can train a dog to find it. Great drive. That's a good comment. You know, one of the things that, and I'm not saying what you were saying is wrong at all, Michelle, whatsoever, because that is most common how we talk about the desire to do something, is that it's a specific drive of prey, or a play drive, or hunt drive, or what else could there be? You know, you also have rank drive, you also have fight drive, you have all these drives. It is really one of those things that I don't use very often, but drive can be used to describe a dog that has a strong desire to do something, which I'm fully behind. I just stay away from the word drive because it can be used in so many different ways that it can make people, especially canine handlers, confused, because I'll say it in one form or fashion, and then they'll go to another trainer and they'll have it all switched around and use it in another way, and it becomes very confusing. There's a trainer out of Utah that's fairly famous in the police dog world, and he has something like 35 or 40 drives. I can't remember how many there are. I could be way off on the numbers, but and he teaches a whole class on drives, and by the time you get out of there, you're so confused as to what he's talking about that it really wasn't helpful. It just makes you more confused. But yes, the dog has a strong desire for that ball like nobody's business. I like how he stuck his head in there and stayed with the ball and really breathing in again with his nose and his mouth. Remember, that dog not only can, but does purposefully smell through their nose and their mouth. All right. And they smell both directions, going in and going out. Right. And so they have a very efficient way of smelling and identifying odor. And as he continues to do this over and over again, it becomes part of the fingerprint for him playing this game, right? So when I say search for this thing, he knows that we're going to begin searching for this fingerprint of odor, which includes live bed bugs. Now, remember, we're going to be reducing the size of the toy, so the toy becomes less and less part of it, and the bed bug odor, live bed bug odor, becomes part of it. So somebody like April might ask, yes, desire. Yes. And so April might be somebody that might ask, so why do you keep saying live bed bugs, and why do you have dead bed bugs in the other one? Well, because for the bed bug detection dog, what's important is that the dog comes in and finds the live bed bugs that are in a room, right? If they're in there, and identifies them by sitting and showing the handler where the source of that odor is coming from. That is the dog's job. So then they treat either through heat or chemicals and hopefully kill the live bed bugs that are inside that room. And then 6 to 7 days later, they bring the dog back in to make sure there's no more live bed bugs. So that means the dog has to ignore any dead bed bugs that are left in the environment. And that is very tricky because there can be some bugs that are dying, which means they're still alive, right? And so that's why you have to wait a little while. Some people want us to come in like a day after treatment, but bed bugs sometimes don't die right away. They've not encountered the chemical, right? Some chemicals will have a little bit of residual that sticks around for a couple days. The bug has been hidden between two pieces of wood and fairly secure and out of the odor of the chemical, or out of the way of the chemical, and then decides to venture out because they smell the pheromones of a human being inside that room. The bug will then come out and then come in contact with the residual chemical that's been created to kill him, and then he begins to die. And that could be 2-3 days later. And so if you come in too soon, the dog will alert and let you know there's live bed bugs in there, but you didn't give enough time for the bed bugs to die from the treatment that was handed down, that was given to that particular area. And so it's best to wait, about a week, somewhere in that area. Not necessarily because of the safety of the dog. That is one concern, right? Where you don't want to bring a dog in there and have him smelling the chemical. But in most cases, it's gone away enough. If we can walk in as a human being, it's safe enough for the dog to come in for 5 minutes to do a search, maybe even 2.5 minutes to do a search of a room this size. It should only take 2 to 3 minutes to search. By the time they're in and out, the chemical they've come in contact with is just not that big of a deal, and the dog will come out of it okay. And so it's part of it is not exposing the dog to the chemical, but not that big of a deal. More of it is because if you bring a dog in too soon, the bed bugs haven't had time to die. And so a dog will come on alert on a dying bed bug, and then when you come in and really look, it looks like it's clear. So anyway, back to the original thought is that the reason we train a dog to ignore dead bed bugs is because we want him to, right? We want him to make sure and let us know that what bugs are dead by ignoring them, and then let us know what bugs are alive by alerting, by sitting when he finds them. All right, so just to review, this is day 1 of Charlie's training. It isn't really of his training overall. We've been working on Sid a little bit, and we started working on him releasing that toy because he was holding on really tight before and didn't want to let go whatsoever. But now you can see he's letting go a little bit quicker. It'll get better. You'll see the progress as we do this, that he'll let go faster and faster. And then now you know why in all the blocks we have something that it will be part of the training aid that we want the dog to learn to ignore, including dead bed bugs, and why we put the tennis ball with the live bed bugs. And now we're going to marry those two things together. That's what we did today. We use cinder blocks because it really identifies each one of those things. The dog, you can see, he sticks his nose in each one of those things. So I'm sure that he's smelling all the things I want him to ignore, and he's finding the thing I want him to find. And that's why we use cinder blocks in the beginning, because we want to make sure that no matter what, at least as he's sniffing and searching, I can tell that he's done A, B, C, and then D being the find. And that's sticking his head in there and really breathing it in, and then I can reward him. Now the reward becomes the connection, right? That's how we connect the odor to his toy, is by now the reward. He finds it, he smells it, identifies it, reward. He finds it, identifies it, and reward. He finds it, identifies it, and he gets reward, right? After a while, he's going to find it, identify it, and then he's going to have to sit and then reward. So we're gonna add something later on, which is the sit. We don't do that too soon because we want to focus on one thing at a time. All right, so we'll end up getting to that. All right, any more questions? I can still see people are on. Who else is on? I can see people are on, but nobody's commenting. Let me know who you are. If you have any questions, we're going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do this as often as possible. Sometimes it's hard. Like today, like I said, I spent 3 to 4 hours just getting the audio correct. I don't know why we were having a little bit of a glitch, but there was a change in the software, which set everything back to factory settings, which caused me to not realize that I had to go back and fix one of the settings in the web designer, not web designer. Forget what it's called. That thing. And so that's kind of what happened there. All right, let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. I know that we're syndicating to other websites or other Facebook pages. So if you're watching this on a Facebook page other than Falco Canine Academy and you're commenting, I'm sorry. You're going to have to comment on Falco Canine Academy's Facebook page, at least while I'm on live, for me to be able to see it. I will see that you commented in the other Facebook pages that I'm syndicating on. But if you want me to see it right now, you have to comment in the Falco Canine Academy Facebook page. Oh, great. Ollie, again, which is one of the dogs we just recently sent out to Chris here at Find It Canine Detection. Ollie found bugs in 40 seconds last week. Nice. Can't ask. What was it? Can you put the square foot in there? Obviously, if it was 2 square feet, then that's not that great. But if it's like 100 square feet or 200 square feet or 50 square feet, 40 seconds is good. The dog comes in, finds them, and that's the power of the detection dog, right? If we didn't have a detection dog, a man would have to go on there with a flashlight and a magnifying glass and look through all the cracks and crevices, sometimes open things up, use the flashlight to try to find them, right? There would be so much that would have to happen. It would take hours to completely search a room where a dog with his nose can search and find a bed bug, right? A little tiny bed bug that you can't even see with your own eye. A dog can find it in 40 seconds in a 1,000 square foot house. So you got a 1,000 square foot house. A dog comes in, finds a little tiny bed bug that we cannot see with our eye half the time, right? These ones you can because they're adults, but if it's anything other than an adult, they're really hard to see. Just let me tell you that. And you have a dog that can come in and find it in 40 seconds. That is the power of the dog, right? And so if you charge, so when I do a bed bug dog search, I charge $300 an hour. And so if I can go in and find a bed bug in 40 seconds, that's a pretty good return on my investment, right? Right. And so there you go. That's one reason to get into the business. Michelle says, nice. Yes, it is nice. I mean, that's really good. Makes me proud. Makes me proud to know that Ollie is doing his job. And one was in a plug. Nice. You mean an electrical outlet or in the plug that goes in the electrical outlet? I'm guessing in the electrical outlet. And I don't know, they're in there a lot. There's a lot of room. An entire colony can actually stay inside that little room that's made by a electrical outlet. And so that is pretty powerful. Hey, Chris, why don't you put where you are, your phone number or where you are so people can contact you if they want to. Yes, electrical outlet. So if you want to, you don't have to. You can just put your website address. It must be finditk9detection.com, I'm guessing, or .org or .net or .tv. But feel free to put that in the comment section so that if people want to find you and find out more about you, they can do that. That would be awesome. And feel free, anybody that's watching this, to share this on your Facebook page. That would really be great for us. And if you don't subscribe to Falco Canine Academy's Facebook page, make sure and subscribe. That way you can get notified anytime we go live. www.finditk9detection.com, I'm guessing, is what he's saying there. That's it. All right. So, and you can put the whole thing in there. It's okay if you want to put the whole thing. That way they can just click on it and go. So that's it. That's Ollie's first day. I think Ollie's fantastic. He's a little tiny dog. We don't find labs this small, especially a male. Females we can find small, but not quite as small as I think Charlie. The last dog we found, Labrador we found that small, was Nola. Nola, where did she go? She's a bed bug dog somewhere. I forgot where she went, but she's fantastic. But she was a little tiny dog. She looked like a puppy. Everybody that saw her said, "Oh, she's a little puppy." And no, she was like 2.5 years old. She was pretty old. I'm late. Wow. All right, you're gonna have to watch the replay, Gina. Charlie just came out, did a search. Looks really good. Day one, he was all over it. And so we're gonna have a really good time with Charlie watching his progress. So, and I encourage you to again subscribe. There you go. Finditdetection.com. That way you people can click on it. Thanks, Chris. I know you had a little piecemeal there. If you're watching this and you like what you're seeing, go ahead and put 5 stars. That would be great. And a little comment that you kind of like what we're doing. That would be great. If you don't want to put 5 stars, just message me and let me know. And that way I can talk to you about whatever it is we can do to improve and discuss why it is you don't like what we're doing. But if you do, I would really appreciate the 5 stars on our Facebook page to let people know that this is a good place to be when they come. All right. So that's it. I hope the sound worked out okay. I worked hard enough on it, and so I'm glad that I was able to do this and work in my second camera and that kind of stuff. So, Gina, you're gonna have to watch the replay, and who else joins? Chris and Michelle, and let's see, April. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it, and I will see you at the next one. Don't worry, we're going to do not just bed bug detection dog training. We're going to do some other frequently asked question videos. So don't think we're just going to be stuck on the, oh, Michelle, thanks. 5 stars here, and then 5 stars on the Facebook page would be fantastic. Thank you. All right, that's it. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye. Let's put the stars up first before I go. There we go. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye. End the broadcast.